Switch, it's time to thwip. What's up, Thwipper Snappers? I'm AJ and welcome to another Thwip Side video. It's been a long time since I've spoken about comics on the channel, so I thought it'd be fun to check out some of the new Dawn of DC comics from the, obviously, Dawn of DC initiative they're coming out with, and a couple of extra comics as well. Guys, in advance that there will be some glare due to the lights reflecting off the poly bags. Okay, but that out of the way, let's get started. This is Batman 135, better known as Legacy 900. So obviously the 900th issue of Batman. This has been covered quite a lot when it came out because it's an anniversary issue. I do have cover A. This is a variant cover. And I just had to pick this up too because I thought it was cool. Batman with all the Robins. Chip Zdarsky, obviously, the closing of his second story arc, pretty much. The first story arc, the failsafe, was pretty good until the end. That's been well covered, how Batman rides back to Earth. And yes, I do think that's ridiculous. The second story arc was so-so, with him in an alternate Gotham, and encounters the villain Red Mask, who was actually someone trying to be the Joker, a Joker that's not Joker. But the thing that makes this cool is a lot of people say it's fan service, but I actually rather enjoyed it when Batman follows Red Mask throughout the multiverse, and you get all these different, he encounters different Batmen from different multiverses. Like you got the Keaton Batman there, and people did complain it's fan service, but you know what, at the end of the day, fans yell when companies or properties don't give them what they want. And when they don't do that, they're terrible companies, and when they do something like this, it's fan service. So at the end of the day, to me, the way I look at it is people want, as fans, want to be serviced with what they want. And I just thought it was cool. And to me, it kind of saved the arc. I mean, the story arc to me was okay. It wasn't super great in my opinion, but this was a fun ending to it. So I appreciated it a lot. And here you see animated Batman, just Batman from everywhere, across time, or across the multiverse. It was awesome to see the Arkham video game Batman, Batman Beyond. The thing I liked the most, that's awesome, Terry McGinnis. Injustice Batman, classic Batman, Adam West Batman, which was awesome. I thought that was great. And he was the key to saving the day. Where is it? Oh, right here. A giant shark attacks. And where the heck is it? Oh. And he stops the shark with the Adam West shark repellent, which I thought that was awesome, growing up a fan of the 66 Batman. So yeah, I really did enjoy this comic, and I enjoyed the quote-unquote fan service. Green Lantern issue number 1, obviously Dawn of DC, written by Jeremy Adams, and art by, oh my god, I don't know if I can pronounce that. Let's see, what's the first name? Art by, oh, no first name, Zermancio. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but it's fitting we got to that part of the book because I love how the opening here reminds me of like a Star Wars crawl. It's to set up what's going to happen in the issue. But it reminds me, I read it and all I could think of is the opening Star Wars crawl. So for a Green Lantern book, that's really awesome. And you get Hal Jordan. He's back on Earth. And he's trying to reconnect with Carol. So yeah, really cool. I love the art. Jeremy Adams was awesome on The Flash, so I'm hoping he continues that with Green Lantern. Some really nice art. And then there is a backup story. The backup story is with John Stewart. Now, John Stewart is my favorite Green Lantern. I do love Hal, but I just love what you could do with John Stewart. He's more strictly by the rules, you know, like a cop or a military type of person. And a character like that works well with someone that plays fast and loose and isn't as serious. So I think you can, you know, you can set up interesting dynamics, and DC has in different mediums in the past. So yeah, John Stewart is my favorite, but he's in a story where I did read this, but I forget exactly. They're under attack. And Rise of the Revenant Queen. I'll have to reread that. I forgot a lot about that one. I did pick up the free copy of DC We Are Legends. It was a free solicitation of like a primer for I think they're new characters, or new to me, Asian characters, and I read through it, and there's 3 different stories: City Boy, Spirit World, and the Vigil. And the Vigil story really stuck out to me, so I did pick up Vigil #1. You see it right here, and it's really cool. It's these characters. They work for like a black ops organization. I don't want to spoil. I'm not gonna get too deep into the stories because don't want to spoil them, because they are fairly new issues. But yeah, they're like a black ops team, and so far the story has my interest and seems pretty cool. I usually give comics like 5 issues to decide if I'm going to continue on. That's when I really know if it's going to probably keep me interested or not. So far, the Vigil is off to a great start. Next, we have Titans #1 by Tom Taylor. His Nightwing series has slowly evolved to like a pseudo Teen Titans, or Titans book, not Teen Titans. So now it finally gets its proper book. Not going to say much about this, but there's a death at the end, in case people haven't heard. I'm sure most of you have, but I'm not going to spoil it just in case. But if this character stays dead, I'm going to be, or for the time being stays dead, no one ever stays truly dead in comics for a long time, I'm going to be very disappointed, because they keep screwing with this certain character. And just when he was getting back, he was put on the right track, and you know, getting some respect. He dies, and I can tell, you know, I realize it's trying to set up a mystery, but they better bring him back like instantly. Something's got to happen, because I'm sure a lot of people will be really pissed. Besides that, I did enjoy this one as well. Next, we have Shazam #1 by Mark Waid and Dan Mora, which I think is the perfect team for a Shazam book. They're doing great with like the old school vibe storytelling with World's Finest, and I think they're the perfect team to do Shazam. I hope this gains enough popularity to stay and ongoing. I love the character Shazam, and it always seems like he never gets his due. And I know that's because he kind of is like another Superman in a lot of ways, but I just think the character is a lot of fun. And I love the 2 movies. I know the second one got hate, but I thought it was pretty fun. I just love the idea of him getting his powers, and he's a kid, so he's basically a big man child. That's just leads to a lot of fun. This one's a lot of fun. He hangs out with dinosaurs from space and things like that. So really had a good time with this Shazam #1. We have Green Arrow #1 by Joshua Williamson, and I don't believe I've ever read anything by Joshua Williamson until his Flash run, and I never was a huge Flash comic reader. I like the Flash as a character, but never read tons of his comics. You know, if he was in other comics, yeah. Just one of those things. You can't read everything. But I kept hearing great things about his Flash run, so I went back and read his whole Flash run. and I loved it. It made me even more of a Flash fan than I've ever been in my life. I thought that was fantastic. So I was excited when he was on. It was announced he would be doing a Green Arrow book, because Green Arrow is one of my favorite characters. So really excited to have picked this up again. I really enjoyed it. This story revolves around the Green Arrow team, or the Green Arrow family, I guess you call them, trying to find Oliver. And once again, I did like that. So far, I've liked the art on every comic I've mentioned. But yeah, once again, I like the art on this. Art by Sean Izaakse. I cannot pronounce names, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, really fun intro to this new run. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Speaking of Joshua Williamson, I've also been reading his Superman, obviously starting with #1 under the Dawn of DC banner. And to me, this is a really great story and really fun. And the thing about it with me is I've never been a huge Superman fan. I appreciate Superman. I like some Justice League stories, some of the animated shows, movies, or whatever with Superman. But as far as comics are concerned, I've never been a huge Superman reader. I just never really could get into a lot of his comics. To me, they weren't super interesting. And I think that's because I've always had the way of thinking is, how do you make a character who's almost totally indestructible, have any conflict? You always have to have, to me, like end of the universe type conflict to make it interesting. But when you have a good writer, you don't need that necessarily, and I'm sure there are other stories, but for me, Joshua Williamson once again has captured my attention. I just mentioned that I usually give a comic 5 issues and then dump it if I can't get into it, but he had me hooked off of issue #1. The art by Jamal Campbell, I believe, is fantastic. The first 3 issues are like a mini story arc within a overarching story. So that's really cool. And the first 3 dealt with, he had a plague of parasite. Parasite became multiple parasites, and they were running around Metropolis. And it was kind of like a horror type story in a way. But yeah, I thought it was really cool, and he has me hooked. And I want to see what happens for sure, because I want to see what happens with the villain, the big bads so far through the series that's causing all these problems. And it turns out, I will say, I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say they are 2 people from Lex's past, Lex Luthor's past, and Lex is in jail. He's turned LexCorp to Supercorp, and Superman is reluctantly working with Lex while Lex is in jail to put an end to these problems and to stop Lex's long lost enemies that are trying to get back at everybody. But really fun, really cool, and really interesting. Joshua Williamson did what not a lot of writers can do to me when it comes to Superman, and get me hooked and make me interested. So I can't wait to see where this book goes. And also, of course, speaking of Dawn of DC, I should have started the video with this, but I did get the free special edition Dawn of DC primer. No, I did not pay $6.50 for it. I just threw it in a bag real quick because it got sent from Midtown unbagged and boarded. But it's basically a book to show you, like, of some stories to get you hyped for the Dawn of DC initiative, which, as you can't tell by now, I am pretty excited for this whole initiative. I'm really liking it. And I got the free Comic Book Day Night Terror Special Edition. I'm not super big into horror, so I'm on the fence, but I'm definitely not going to get all the tie-ins to this. But I think I might get the Batman and Catwoman tie-ins if I get into this book. Maybe the the regular book that go Night Terror's book, and maybe the Batman and Catwoman tie-ins, because the Batman and Catwoman are having a crossover in late summer, early fall, and it says it spills out from their what goes on in Night Terror. So I may get this. I'm not sure, but still looks really cool. Last but not least, even though it doesn't have the Dawn of DC tagline on it, I want to talk about Batman the Brave and the Bold, issue number 1. Now, what I find funny is that on the DC Universe Infinite app, I've been reading the old Detective Comics Batman stories, starting with his first appearance. And back then, of course, they were much more of an anthology book. And as I was reading them, having a lot of fun reading those old school Batman books, but as I was reading them, I was like, man, I'd like to get... I wish there was another anthology book like modern day that I could get into. And of course, Batman and Detective Comics, and now we saw with Green Lantern, they do have backup stories, but like an anthology book with more than that. And so I already had this on pre-order, and it came, and lo and behold, this is kind of like what I was looking for. And starring Batman. So, starting off, the one thing that I was a little apprehensive about was the Batman story is written by Tom King. But I will say, and the art is Mitch Gerads, which I will say, the art is fantastic. It's like a stock cardboard, you know what I mean, cover. Can't speak, but the art is fantastic. And I think this is a story, it seems like early on in Batman's career, but the art sets the tone so well. And I will say, for the most part, for this first part of the story, I do enjoy what Tom King is doing here. And the one thing is, people might say, oh no, because it does involve the Joker. And I know a lot of people are getting Joker burnout. I kind of am too, except for when it's done exceptionally well. Like Batman the Joker, the Deadly Duo, which I am going to make a video about because I just finished reading that, and that story was fantastic. But all these like silent film panels are like when the Joker speaks, which I think is eerie and cool. So every time he speaks, they go to one of those silent film panels, which I think is fantastic. And then we have a Stormwatch story. So yeah, even if you don't like all the stories, you don't have to like every story in the book. The Stormwatch story was okay. It wasn't my favorite. But we have a Stormwatch story. What's this? A Superman story. I did read all these. Yep, then we have a Superman story. And then this is almost like it reminds me of like a manga. Or a manga, sorry. So all the stories you get in this first issue are Batman the Winning Card Part 1, Stormwatch Down with the Kings Part 1, Superman Order of the Black Lamp Part 1, and Heroes of Tomorrow, which is written by Dan Mora. So yeah, really cool that we're getting like a proper anthology book. And as I said, the main story, of course, the main draw to most people for this book would be Batman. It is called Batman the Brave and the Bold. But it'll be cool to, keep it up with the like other backstories. And I hope they do keep that up through the life cycle of this book. And I think there's something to be said, and something cool just about having an anthology book. That will wrap things up for me. I hope you enjoyed this look at some of the newer DC comics out. I'm very excited. Although I'm in the camp of a lot of people, I'm not really sure what the Dawn of DC initiative really totally is. But I'm enjoying a lot of what they're putting out so far. To me, the one thing I can say is it seems like they're trying to get like back to basics in some ways. It's hard for me to explain, but with like more of like a modern telling of a classic vibe. That's what I get from them. It's more like it's got like a classic feel, but still modern, and I think that's why I'm really enjoying these right now. Let me know if you're excited about the Dawn of DC, or what books have you picked up under the Dawn of DC, or what you've been reading in general. Did you read any of these books that I spoke about, and what did you think of them? Or do you have any other DC books from the Dawn of DC that I didn't cover here? And let me know, and let me know what you thought of those as well, because I'm always looking to pick up some good comics and some good stories. With that being said, thanks as always for watching and the continued support. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and thwip that notification bell, and I will catch you guys soon right here on the Thwip side. Later.